Dr. D, about the wasps. We talked about this whole genetic engineering thing, right? No, I said bees! Bees! Bees were fine. Bees are the end of the world, not wasps! Those pricks are dangerous! Hello? Dr. D? Damn it! Greetings, duelists! I'm the duelist formerly known as Gamma, now codenamed Midas of Team Snek, your own personal low-quality YuGi-Oh channel, as well as the YuGi-Oh community's resident evil team. Okay, just for the record, just because we are Team Snek and we're associated with snakes, doesn't mean we are evil. That's a gross misconception. But speaking of evil, wasps. They're pretty evil, right? I know they have a reputation of being very aggressive creatures. And quite unlike the humblebee, they don't really serve a purpose within the circle of nature except for being very aggressive pricks. So they must be pretty evil, right? Okay, apparently Omega, our team leader, has just told me wasps do serve a very important purpose in our ecosystem. They're still pricks though. So what does Konami do? They print an archetype out of it, aptly named Battlewasp. For some context, Battlewasps were introduced in Battles of Legends Heroes Revenge. They are a synchro-based beatdown focused archetype, which, considering they are wasps and the behavior they're known for, seems pretty appropriate. As it was stated, Battlewasps mostly focus on synchro summoning and have a fair amount of good quality cards which focus on negating attacks, negating effects during your opponent's turn, as well as revival and just general beatdown with a focus on fast synchro summoning. Now, will this deck swoop the meta and utterly destroy it to make way for their new wasp overlords? No, by no means, but they're still a pretty fun archetype, and considering I am Team Snek's resident aggro expert and specialist, this deck is right up my alley. So, let's not waste any more time, let me introduce you soon to the Battlewasp archetype. Now, I will note that in this video I will only be providing the deck profile and the cards you need to play in the deck, and there will be a separate video explaining certain combos and the speciality of the deck, and I will go more in depth about it. So if you want to see that video, there will be a link down below in the description for later use, and it will be uploaded maybe a little bit in a few days. But right now, let's go to the deck profile and let's see what these dastardly bugs, or if you want to be technical, insects, are capable of. So here we are at the table, ready to profile the hell out of this deck. So let's see what these dastardly creatures are capable of. First off, we have the Searcher, 3 copies of Battlewasp Sting the Poison. It's a no-brainer why this should be a free of. Upon summon, it searches a Battlewasp monster, and during your opponent's turn, you can tribute 1 insect monster on your field, it's a quick effect, to negate an opponent's monster's effect. Pretty alright, and it's a tuner, so it scores for your main synchro plays, because synchro summon is the main strategy to go for in this deck. Next up, we have 3 copies of Battlewasp Arbalest Rapid Fire. Upon normal summoning, this side card summons a level 3 or lower insect monster out of your graveyard in defense position, and when this card is destroyed, you can special summon 1 Battlewasp monster from your deck. Pretty good, 1800 attack, very good, and a great artwork. One of the things that drew me to this archetype was the artwork, and Battlewasp Arbalest Rapid Fire is really good. It's one of the mainstays, definitely with a free up. And of course, the final free of Battlewasp monsters is 3 copies of Battlewasp Twin Body Attacker. You can special summon this card from your hand, it has no prior requirements, but if you do this, you cannot summon monsters from your extra deck except insect monsters for the rest of the turn, which doesn't matter because, well, most things in the extra deck are insect monsters. And as its name suggests, Twin Bow can attack twice. It doesn't really have much, it only has 1000 attack, but still, that's pretty cool, having a double attack and a card you can easily special summon. Now for the rest of the Battlewasp, we have 2 copies of Battlewasp Spin the Bullseye. You can special summon this card from your hand when you control an insect monster, and once per turn you can inflict 200 points of damage to your opponent for each Battlewasp Spin the Bullseye that's on your field. Yeah, it's a really ludicrous amount of burn damage. It can come alright in a clutch, but it's not really the best thing. But it's a free special summon, which makes it really good. And if you get 2 out, you do 400 damage. It's only for the Pin the Bullseye, which is a shame. And finally, a card that I've been debating between putting on 1 and 2. 2 copies of Battlewasp Dart the Hunter. Dart the Hunter basically allows you to deal extra damage. When it's on the field, it can turn 1 monster you control into a tuner monster. But when a Battlewasp monster destroys an opponent's monster By battle, you can discard this card from your hand and inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack of the monster that was destroyed. Yeah, it's good, but it's a really clutch and situational card. So debating putting it to 1 and adding something else in, but it's not exactly the best card. But still alright if you want to go for the archetype. So that was the main deck Battlewasp monster. Now for some generic cards. Free as to beat the Dwarf Warrior. You can special summon this card from your hand by banishing 1 insect monster to your graveyard. This is pretty good. I usually go into a rank 4 with this, but even though I only play rank 4. But it's good for synchro fodder and everything. And when this card deals that damage, your opponent has to send the top card of their deck to the graveyard. I feel like this is a staple in most type of insect decks. Then for something that might be a little different. A Wind Witch engine, 3 copies of Wind Witch Ice Bell, 1 Glass Bell and 1 Snow Bell. This is usually because if you go first, and this deck really likes to go second, if you go first you can just use this combo and make it to a Crystalline. Of course you're locked into Crystalline with that effect, but that's still pretty good because an indestructible Crystalline is never a bad thing. So that's why I play this engine. Plus it's all wind, and mostly this deck is usually locked into wind type, so it's never a bad thing. And for the final 3 monsters we just have 3 Ash Blossoms. Now I debated putting in Ash Blossom or a Gokipole engine, which is 2 Gokipoles and 1 Insect Knight, which is also really good, but I feel like, well, Ash Blossom is just more important for stopping certain plays, because if your opponent goes off in their first turn and they set up like 20 negates, yeah, then you're pretty much up shot creek without a shotgun and you can't really do anything. So I felt personally that Ash Blossom is a better option. But if you want to go for full aggro with no interruptions, then the Gokipole engine is certainly a lot better. I would recommend 2 Gokipoles and an Insect Knight or any level 4 normal insect monster. Now for the spells we have 3 copies of Summoning Swarm. What's so great about Summoning Swarm is basically you can special summon level 4 lower Battlewasp monsters from your graveyard equal to the number of monsters your opponent controls. And it doesn't matter how many you control. For example, let's say you control 2 monsters, your opponent controls 4. Well, technically you can only summon 3 monsters, but you can summon up to 4 monsters because your opponent controls that many monsters. It doesn't matter how many you have on the field. You can special summon from the extra tree effect insect monsters, which doesn't really matter because if you can make a very good board with insect synchro monsters or link monsters, then you've pretty much already won. So Summoning Swarm is definitely free. I understand this could be a clutch and you really have to fill your graveyard up first. So it might not be the best card, but I feel at 3 it's still pretty good. Such as what I consider the better card, 3 copies of Revival Swarm. Revival Swarm is very simple, it's a monster reborn for the archetype. It lets you special summon a Battlewasp monster from your graveyard, and then you can banish this card from the graveyard to target 1 Battlewasp monster you control. That card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects until the end of the next turn. So pretty alright. It's really helped me a lot. I say it's better than Summoning Swarm, because Summoning Swarm is really specific. A Revival Swarm can just revive any of your Battlewasps, which is always a good thing. And for the final 3 off, we play 3 copies of Transmodify. Honestly, you play Insect Imitation, which is a lot better, but I don't have those. Transmodify has a similar effect, so that's why I play it. The only difference between Transmodify and Insect Imitation is that Insect Imitation isn't once per turn, and Transmodify is. So yeah, if I can get my hands on Insect Imitation, or if you do have them, set up Transmodify for Insect Imitation because it's a lot better, because it's more insect based. But yeah, Transmodify does the same effect. It's only a little bit. Then we have 2 copies of Twin Twister. I feel like with most beatdown decks, Aggro is really dangerous. So Twin Twister can help you really in that clutch. And since I have to face a lot of control decks for some odd reason, Twin Twister is pretty much a staple in any main or side deck that I have. And if you can ditch a card and revive it with Revival Swarm or Monster Reborn, then it's never a bad thing. Now for the one-offs, we have 1 Monster Reborn because it's Monster Reborn, 1 for 1 because you have plenty of level 1 monsters you can summon off of this effect, and 1 Foolish Burial because, well, you can revive things from the graveyard and you can fill it up. And then we have only 2 trap cards, and that's 2 copies of Battlewasp Nest. Now, Battlewasp Nest is a very interesting card and you don't really need to play it, but I find it to be very fun. You can activate this card when your opponent attacks a Battlewasp monster on your field. Then the effect is negated, that attack is negated, and the battle phase ends and this card gains a counter. And then you can also summon a Battlewasp monster from your deck then. So basically you can special summon from the deck and it negates an attack and ends the battle phase. Then it gains a counter. If this card has 2 counters on it, destroy it. Pretty gimmicky honestly, because
who needs a negated attack nowadays, but I find it so fun with the archetype, and this is a casual fun deck, so I thought, why not? It would be pretty interesting to see more trap cards come on. Now we go to the extra deck. We'll start off with what I see is the best card in the deck, the signature card, Battlewasp Harma the Conquering Bow. This card has a very interesting side of effect. For one, if you summon this card using a synchro monster, and we have a synchro tuner in this deck, it can make a second attack. During the turn that this card did not attack or deal damage, you can inflict 300 points of damage for each Battlewasp monster in your graveyard at the end of your battle phase. And when this card inflicts damage to your opponent, you can make all monsters your opponent controls lose 1000 attack. It's pretty good. It's pretty alright. It's basically, I won't say the crystalling of the deck because we play crystalling in this, but it's really good. You can make this in one turn and it's pretty fun to use. And I also love the artwork. It's one of the best artworks I've ever seen. Not what you would associate with wasps. Quite unlike our other candidates, 2 copies of Battlewasp Halberdier Charge. Halberdier Charge, when this card attacks a monster, that monster attack is halved, but only when this card attacks. Then, when it deals damage, you can inflict 200 points of damage for each Battlewasp monster you control. You can only use this effect once per turn. Pretty alright, it's a pretty standard first turn play to go into. Halberdier Charge can easily go out a monster as long as it doesn't have more than 5000 attack points, because it will always cut those monster attack points in half. And it deals damage along the way. For the final Battlewasp Synchro, sorry, not bad. 2 Battlewasp Azusa the Ghost Bow. Azusa the Ghost Bow is mostly what you go into for the first time because, well, it has an interesting effect. When another Battlewasp monster inflicts damage and this card is on the field, deal damage to your opponent equal to the original attack of the monster that was destroyed. And when this card is in the graveyard and a Battlewasp monster destroys a monster in opponent's field, you can special summon this card from your grave in defense mode, banish it or release the field. It's also a synchro tuner, so basically it's a tuner monster. You summon a Battlewasp monster, make this, and then summon like Twinbow the attacker and go to Hama. It's pretty great. It's a very, very powerful card. Not really like the best level 5 synchro out there, but it does the job in its main archetype here very, very well. So 2 of is just fine. And then 1 copy of Battlewasp Ballista the Armageddon. This is basically the boss monster of the deck, and upon summoning of this card, it's level 12 monster, you must banish all insect monsters in your graveyard, and all your monsters your opponent controls lose 500 attack for each monster banished, which is pretty darn good, because it basically makes all your opponent's monsters weakened. And it doesn't target, obviously. When this card attacks, inflict piercing damage, and also when it's destroyed, you can summon up to 3 level 11 or lower insect monsters that are banished. So pretty strong. You don't really go into this all that often, but when you do, oh, things are about to get real. Next up for the final synchros, 1 Crystal Wing and 1 Windwitch Winterbell. For obvious reasons, like, yeah, this is just for the combo. Pretty standard. We play 1 number 41 Bagusa Cherry type tap here. I can go into this with an Arbalest, Rapid Fire, and an Acid Beat. I will show you all in the combo. It doesn't really happen that often because if I special summon Twin Body Attacker for free special summon, I'm locked into insect, and this is not an insect. This is mostly, I use Baguska in a lot of decks as a first turn play to just stop my opponent, because beatdown decks, when they go first, they often lose on the spot. So yeah, that's why I play 1 Baguska. And for the links, we have 1 Borosaur Dragon, because it's Borosaur Dragon, it literally OTKs. 1 Phoenix, 1 Cerberus for the Nightmare package. 1 Great Fight, because Great Fight is generic for wind monsters, and this is mostly only wind monsters, so it's perfect, plus it's an insect, so you aren't locked out. And 1 Insector Picolana, because it's literally like the only other good insect link monster that's generic. Yeah, with the Go-People engine this works a lot better and you can do a lot more things, but I found it takes up a lot of resources to get used to. But still pretty alright, because you can recycle and draw 1.
So this was the deck profile. I really hope you enjoyed it all and it was informative. Like I said before, there will be a link down below in the description to a video about combos and more details and specificities about the deck. That will be uploaded in a couple of days. But now for the question of the day, I want to ask you, what is your favorite synchro focused archetype? Like, for me a lot of have come and go. Battlewasps are currently my favorite. But I also really enjoy like Assault Mode, which is mostly synchro based. But I'm also quite a fan of things like Mayakashis because of their beautiful artwork. As for my most hated synchro deck, it's definitely Blackwings. Then Birds. But that's neither here nor there. Let me know in the comments down below, what is your favorite synchro-based deck and why? And is it one of your favorite decks to play? Let us know in the comments down below, and click that subscribe button, that like button, and you know everything else we will tell you to do because, well, Team Snek. We are Team Snek. This is Midas, signing off.